You want a shout out for me and have more vids frequently? Then support me on Patreon, where the cost is only $3. So when it comes to certain interests growing up, I am a very simple bat. I loved cartoons and sports. I love taking the moment to be able to view games and talk about my favorite teams and players. Though this year doesn't seem to be the best for me. Goodness. But now I'm moving on to another sport that I love to watch, and that's basketball. Fun fact, basketball is what got me into being a furry too. So why not combine my two loves into one as we look at some of my favorite basketball episodes from various cartoons throughout these next few videos. So today, we're going to be starting off with a show that I have yet to talk about on this channel. One that I enjoyed thoroughly by the time it came out. Good morning everyone, my name is Jason Blade, and this is a closer look at We Bare Bear's Charlie Ball.
This day's been a wash so far.
Iceberg confidence at all-time low.
Don't worry, little bros. I've been scouting. Okay, check this out.
We start off this episode with the Bears huddling up to talk about the stakes that are in front of them, which is simple. Win, and they get playing. Lose, they will have to sit out until it's their turn. I like the zoom out of the huddle of the basketball court to show immediately what this episode is focused on. It reminds me about a lot of pickup games I witnessed growing up. Though most of the time I actually played, I was more of a liability, but that's not the point. I also enjoyed Grizz's analysis on the best players on the court, which, from the visual of the three kids, you may notice some similarities. One being Damian Lillard, the other being Paul George, and finally... one sec. Oh, Kyrie Irving! I knew that. It was a really nice touch to give us hints of who these characters are being voiced by. And in all honesty, was a glimpse of how much the show loves to bring in black celebrities throughout its time. As the boys get ready to practice some plays, Charlie pops out of nowhere wanting to hang out with them at their place, because he's homeless. Well, the Bears tell him that they don't have time to hang out because they're playing some basketball. Not knowing what that is, he decided to move on and let the Bears play. Charlie featured episodes has always been one of my favorites to view because he's always so chaotic. Just from him popping out of the bush to talk to the Bears and covering Panda's mouth in mid-sentence always gets me every time. Not to mention if he asked if basketball was similar to a game he made up called Gopher Toss, which, in my opinion, is most likely the exact same, but with actual gophers.
Ball! Skyhook!
Get that out of here!
So as soon as the Bears were done talking with Charlie, it was their turn to play. At the start of the game, the Bears struggled as the pros were able to take the early lead quite handily. Of course, due to budget cuts, we get a bird's eye view of the court and some stills of the characters moving around. While I can understand the limits of what you can do considering this is a season 1 episode, I would have preferred if they focused on possibly the ball going into the hoop or missing it and the characters reacting in that sense. While I did appreciate the basketball lingo within the sequence, the bird's eye view sticks out like a sore thumb and can easily take you out of the episode. So when Pan gets the ball, we see PG tackle him as he attempted a shot and ended up injuring Panda. Playoff P at his purest form, man.
I mean, that's a bad shot.
Due to Playoff P hurting Panda's arm, the Bears had no choice but to concede the game. Side note, I think it should be fair that the tryhards get the heck out of the court too. Like, bro, you literally decked someone for little to no reason, my dude. Jeez Louise. Everybody around the court would tell these chumps to get to stepping or they will get slung on.
Oh, no, you don't fly. This is my melon. You stay back. Ugh. Not today. I'd rather throw my melon away than let you have it.
We get back to the Bears' home as they enjoy some melons and Panda is seen with his arm in a sleeve. The Bears try to pander of who would be the perfect replacement for Panda. As Grizz lists the first attribute, Charlie once again comes out of nowhere to aid in taking care of Panda. When Grizz continues listing those necessary skills, Charlie continues to show that he checks all the boxes to be a good player. When Grizz and Ice realizes what raw potential Charlie has, they were already ready to recruit him to play a game tomorrow against the pros. Charlie ecstatically agreed to join, as he was never asked by anyone to join their team. Charlie was an excellent choice for this episode due to his lengthy figure and desperation to want to hang out with someone to deal with his loneliness. It also is using the tall person stereotype, which I know personally, of automatically having a calling at sports with raw talent and potential. Using that combination in this exposition was a smart choice because it does push the narrative of the Bears wanting that quick fix, and they got more than that with Charlie. Of course, there is the concern about Charlie's intense shyness around other humans, so Grizz came up with a plan.
Okay, come on out, Charlie. We need to start the game soon.
I don't think this is gonna work.
Trust me, this plan is flawless.
Okay, I'm coming out.
So at the park, the Bears are ready to play the next game, and we see Charlie coming out with a bear costume. Even with Charlie's doubts, it seemed to have worked as little Kyrie asked if it was the Bears' cousin and told him to stop the creepy smile he was giving. So with that, the boys are ready to get their anticipated rematch started. And it started, well, as good as you would hope playing with Charlie.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your way.
It was pretty hilarious seeing Charlie not having a good grasp of the game. From dodging the pass, stepping out of the way of the opponent, and nearly breaking Grizz's ribs with the ball. The underestimation of Charlie showing his raw skills without even showing the basics was not the wisest decision.
Put the ball in the hoop!
Like this?
So Grizz simply tells Charlie to stand under the basket for this possession. As the play ensues, the Little Pros continued to play good D against Ice and Grizz. When Charlie was able to collect the rebound, he wasn't sure what to do with it next. So when Grizz tells him to put the ball into the hoop, he was able to do it successfully. With receiving praise from his teammates, this was the spark Charlie needed to use his talents. We then get a montage of Charlie becoming more and more confident in his ability, which, by the way, I love the soundtrack that was used in it. The song Can't Stop the Rock by Moses Harris is just a pure track fit for basketball. It gives you the sense of playing park ball in the 90s. So during this montage, the more Charlie played, the more confidence oozed out of him and bystanders become more in awe of his skills. However, his play soon turned Charlie into being cockier every time he makes a play. Once his cockiness grew, he started to become less of a team player. So even though the Bears continued to win, the Bears became more annoyed with Charlie as the day goes on. This was a great way to show how someone can change by their popularity in what they do. After all, Charlie has always been the one to be very desperate in getting the right attention. With no one paying attention to his looks and focusing on how amazing his playstyle is, it was easy for Charlie to get lost in the sauce and become one of the worst type of players. A ball hog.
What? But I'm your best player. Way better than Panda could ever be.
Okay, you know what, Charlie? I was trying to be nice, but you've become a huge ball hog. It's not fun playing with you. Honestly, we'd rather lose playing with Panda than win playing with you.
Yeah. Wait, what?
So when the Bears return home, we see that they are clearly annoyed by Charlie gloating all the way home, talking about how he's improved so quickly to become the best player of the day. Grizz was trying to passively tell Charlie to buzz off, but he wasn't getting the memo. As Charlie was talking, we see Pan Pan take it off his sleeve, and his arm feels a lot better after taking that much needed rest. So he's ready to play once again. Grizz and Ice were ecstatic about the news, and they were ready to bring him back onto the team. While Pan was ready to practice his shot with his sleeve, Charlie continues to be a thorn by blocking it. That's when Grizz broke the news to Charlie that he will be the one to be replaced. Charlie was shocked about this news and boasted about how much of a better player he was than Panda, which was the final strike for Grizz, and he kept it real about Charlie's selfishness. He made it clear that it was more fun losing with Panda than winning with Charlie because Panda was more of a team player. This does not sit well with Charlie, and he boasts about how he is the team. He then tells the crew that he will find someone who will appreciate his talent. Finally, he took off the bear costume, calling it a costume of lies, and stormed off. Grizz felt bad about telling him off, but his bros reassured that he did the right thing. The comparison between Charlie in the beginning to how he is acting now is vastly different. The overconfidence in his ability made him more demeaning to those around him. He became more self-centered in his thoughts. He doesn't even read the vibe in the room and became blunter about situations. When Charlie started to talk down about Panda, it had to be what broke the camel's back as Grizz justifiably tells him off. Panda didn't pay too much attention to the day and mind his own business until his announcement that his arm was better. But Charlie was very quick to berate him once he was seen as a threat to take his spot on the team. When Charlie stormed off, taking off the costume was viewed as the resemblance of the lies he was being told, because all he wanted to be is one of the Bears. He thought that being good at basketball was a one-way ticket to truly being a part of the crew. So when he was kicked off for being too good at the game, he saw it as the Bears were being too jealous of his talents. So when he stormed off, the Bears didn't think too much of it because he is known to move on from situations. But they don't realize that this is a whole new Charlie they're dealing with.
Charlie? What do you...
Oh, you really think you can replace me with this guy? I know Panda can only build houses with all those bricks he throws.
Hey!
Shoot for ball. Come on, let's run.
Here, I got this, Panda.
No, I'll shoot. I got this.
We then come back to the basketball court and the Bears were stretching up for their turn. We hear an aggressive, "Who's got next?" And when Grizz elected his team, he was greeted with a basketball to the tum. We then realized that it was Charlie, joining up with two of the little pros to make a new super team. He made it clear that he was ready to get some vengeance against the Bears and made Panda the primary target as he made fun of his replacement's shooting. He even passes the ball to Pan when he was ready to shoot for who gets the ball, signifying who he wants to challenge the most. Pan was ready to accept after all the ridicule he's received by Charlie. So when he takes his first shot, he makes it with ease. This was a great way to show how much Charlie has changed within a day of owning the basketball court, rocking a whole new disguise and become more aggressive with his opponents as shown with the shoving of the ball in Grizz's gut. Plus, the huge target he placed on Panda became even bigger as he mocks Panda's shooting and even challenged him to make the shot for the ball. I like this scene because this is one of the few times Panda was willing to stand his ground against the heckling cryptid. Now the tackle that happened a couple of days ago comes into play once again because that event caused his shooting arm to be more into form, which gained him the power of the Splash Bear. Even Charlie's teammates were impressed, but Charlie was not gonna give him any praise as the two crews were ready to get things started. We get into the montage once again with a more aggressive song, which I really want to find so I can rock it on my headphones. Can someone please find it? Anyways, we have an opportunity to see the two styles playing out between Pan and Charlie. Charlie uses his massive frame to drive into the paint and get the easy buckets, while Pan Squad uses his new perimeter skills to move off the ball and get open with some great assists. With Charlie's selfishness, he thrives in more ISO plays doing everything on his own. Meanwhile, Pan relies on the team approach with pick and pops, clean assists, and faking out opponents.
Oh, my arm, dude! Foul!
Hey, I got all ball, but you can take it to the top if you're gonna whine about it.
Charlie fouls Pan before he had the chance to shoot, hurting Panda's arm in the process. So when he gets a chance to shoot again, he realized Charlie took away his shot. He didn't have enough time to wonder what happened as Grizz tries to set up a wall to stop Charlie from getting the winning score. However, their attempt was to no avail as Charlie goes for the Jumpman dunk over all three of the Bears. However, as he went down, his identity was accidentally revealed. Not realizing it, he tries to accept praise that wasn't there as the kids became amazingly disgusted by Charlie's figure. After Charlie realizes what happens, the kids surrounded him talking about his looks. When the Bears realized Charlie being under stress, they took it upon themselves to shield everyone away from Charlie by blocking the view of cameras and knocking phones away. This gave Charlie the opportunity to get out of Dodge and rush back into the forest. While doing so, the kids frustratingly leave as well as they all checked how much their phones were abused. Charlie thanks the Bears for helping him out, even after acting like a jerk, realizing the error of his ways. When Grizz is just playing 2-on-2, Ice claims Charlie as his team partner because Ice Bear wants to win. And that was We Bare Bears Charlie Ball. This was one of my personal favorite episodes from this season. It really gives us a chance to see Charlie have a bit of growth in recognizing where true friendship really lies. Not to mention the great use of basketball knowledge within the episode itself, and the attention to detail with the moves being used within each game. Plus, the use of the celebrity cameos in Kyrie, PG, and Dame did not become too distracting, even though they sound 3 times the age of the characters they were portraying. The music used in the basketball montages were fantastic. I always think 90s rap and basketball is the perfect combination for segments like these. If you want a great basketball episode to watch to get you hyped to play a game, this episode is definitely a prime example to do just that. Thank you for taking the time to see this Bats Closer look. Click on the video to the right to see more and subscribe for the latest. You can send your take about this episode in the comments section below. Until then, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.